Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. Today, we are talking about Week 12 matchups as well as starts and sits. I got my good friend Swami Rob joining me, and so you definitely want to check it out. Here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. And joining me for today's matchup starts and sits show is, of course, my good friend Swami Rob from the 94 Rock Morning Show. Swami Rob, happy Thanksgiving to you. How you doing today?
All right. Thanksgiving, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
So anyway, we have a very busy week ahead of us here because there are no teams on bye this week. Although Week 13 does bring both the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers on a bye. And that's going to have a major impact on people trying to make the playoffs, especially if you have a lot of high-value players from either of those teams. There's a lot of fantasy value in those teams, by the way. But we've got so many games to go over. We're just going to get started right away. And we've got the Thursday games, first of all. And to start things off, we got the Texans, 3-7, at the Lions, 4-6. And all I can think about is this game holds as much excitement as our matchup this weekend, Swami, where my 3-7 team is going against your 4-6 team. So how's that sound?
Before we get started, it's important for me to note that I won the 94 Rock Morning Show League by 35/100ths of a point. And in big money league, I lost by 7/10ths of a point. So two games were decided by less than a point for me this weekend. Yeah, it was rough.
That is tough. You know, I actually won. Yeah. I beat Open TDs in the 94 Rock show this week.
Nice.
I knocked
Good
that
job.
guy down to 4th. I am Mr. Spoiler going into the end of this season, man. That's my whole point. I just want to just spoil everyone else to get into the playoffs. Just to let you know, we do still have 3 games left to play. There is still a lot of teams that can make the playoffs right now. I'm pretty sure Zeke and Destroy has it locked up, but no one else does. So, we got I think 8 or 9 teams that are still in the mix, including you, if you win out.
I'm not making it. I actually left Christian McCaffrey last week because I had no choice. There's no other running backs, and so I took the goose egg. I'd have won by a lot more. But, yeah, that team is declining down. I don't have a prayer.
Well, at least you're in a position where you have a shot. Mine, I'm just done, as far as 94 Rock goes. So I want to see one of these other guys win that awesome television. But let's get back to the Texans and the Lions, man. We'll talk about a who cares game. Lions blanked last week. Texans won. I couldn't believe that didn't they beat the Pats? They beat the Pats, right?
New England. They beat New England, yes.
So anyway, so do you think that Matt Patricia, the head coach of the Lions, is going to make it to the end of the season?
Yeah, he'll make it to the end of the season. He's not going to make it to next year, but they're not going to fire anybody at this point. They got to keep people in place because with all the COVID stuff going on, the last thing they want to do is jack with the coaching staff anymore. So, yeah, Patricia will make it. But getting blanked last week pretty much sealed his fate. Yeah,
and I got to say, man, Lions are in trouble, man. I mean, they've got Stafford's injured, Galladay's still injured, Swift is injured. There's as far as I'm concerned, I'd stay away from all those guys this weekend, anybody on the Detroit Lions. But on the flip side, I think Houston is going to be a pretty good game for them. I really like Duke Johnson. Lions have given up the most fantasy points to running backs this season. So Duke Johnson's a definite start, but I can't see sitting anybody on the Texans this week. This should be a good game for them.
Yeah, well, Will Fuller has had a pretty damn good year for once he stayed healthy. This may be the first time that I can recall that Will Fuller hasn't been out, but maybe a game or two, He usually misses wide swaths, so he's actually been pretty damn good when he's been in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the contract year invulnerability that players usually tend to get. I thought Kenny Galladay, who is also on a contract year, was going to have that, but that has not been the case with him. But, it's nice to see Will Fuller doing something good there. And we'll see, if he gets rewarded with a big contract at the end of the season. Now, next up after that.
Houston's going to need to hold on to him, too, by the way. Without DeAndre Hopkins, what the hell else do they have if they let if they let Fuller go. I mean,
Well,
seriously,
they got
it's in their
Brandon
best
Cooks.
interest to pay the man.
Brandon
Yeah,
Cooks.
yeah, okay, that's all right. But he's been better this year. But seriously, if I was the Texans, I'd go ahead and open the pocketbook for Fuller because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't rely on Randall Cobb.
Nope.
Not a lot there.
Nope.
So up next, then the next game is going to be another ho-hum, who cares game. The 3-7 Washington football team versus the 3-7 Cowboys. Another NFC least matchups. But I got to say, both these teams showed signs of life last week. So that was good to see. Who do you think takes this one?
Absolutely. I think the Cowboys are going to take it. And furthermore, it's crazy to watch the Giants trending up. The Redskins are trending up. The Cowboys are trending up. And I don't mean a serious threat. I'm just saying 3 of them look like they might start to – a few lights came on, whereas the Eagles could lose out and end up in last. I really thought they'd be the team to win that pathetic division. They could end up in last year. But I do think the Cowboys win this game.
Yeah, I think the best team in this division is probably going to end up with 6 wins when all is said.
Yeah.
And they're going to get a playoff spot, which just is just doesn't make any sense. But there you go. That's what you get. Now, as far as this game goes, I got to say, man, I really like Terry McLaurin. Dallas has given up the second most points to wide receivers. So he's great. But as far as and I got to say, I love seeing Alex Smith out on the field again. He is great, but I would not start him for fantasy. He is not a fantasy relevant player. He never has been. He's just like a hyper efficient, low volume passer with no rush yards. He is not the kind of guy you want for your fantasy team. So if you're thinking of maybe streaming someone as a quarterback this week, I would not suggest doing it with Alex Smith. On the flip side, talking about the Cowboys, Washington is 5th best against the run and number 1 against receivers. So it's going to be a tough game for Zeke and everybody on that team. I'd say you could start Amari Cooper, but I wouldn't start any of the other receivers this week. I don't think it's going to be good for him.
I think you're going to see one of those receivers probably have a big day. I don't know if it's going to be Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. Maybe Michael Gallup blows up. But, there's 2 other guys in the Cowboys receiving core that while you might not own them in fantasy, they've got 5 pretty viable receivers. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if a couple of those guys end up doing okay. Which one? I don't know because I was hoping for more out of Amari Cooper than I got last week. But I did start Lamb, which was great. So,
yeah, the only thing is that I'm seeing amongst the outside of Cooper, the other guys are only getting like maybe 5 or 6 targets a game, and it's just not enough for fantasy. That makes him a risky play. It makes him a touchdown-dependent kind of receiver. Where you're going to be disappointed you started him unless they get you a touchdown. But anyway, should be a close game. And like I said, you say the Cowboys are going to make it.
I feel
Washington for me. I kind of like Washington.
Washington's going to win that game. Right. Dallas is sorry. All right, I can see that too. It's that division,
Yeah. You know what? Hey, all right. So the third game on Thursday on Turkey Day actually looks like it's going to be a good game. We got the Ravens, 6-4 Ravens at the Steelers, who are 10-0, still undefeated. I think the Steelers are going to go 11-0 here, man. The Ravens are really struggling right now.
Yeah, and the Ravens running game just took a hit too. Not like it was a whole lot to begin with this year anyway. But Pittsburgh has 2 games left on their schedule that might present a challenge. I believe they're at Buffalo. They close the year hosting Indianapolis. Other than that, the is clearly going undefeated. I think I see Indy giving them problems, and I can see Buffalo giving them problems too. But it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Steelers to go 16-0. And in that case, nobody wants to see the Steelers win a 7th Super Bowl. Let's go ahead and put an asterisk by it. It was a COVID year. They didn't play in front of anybody. Doesn't count.
Well, they certainly lucked out on the schedule part. I mean, they have had the cushiest, juiciest schedule you could imagine. But as far as starts and sits this week, I got to say, the Pittsburgh defense, listen to this, man, number 1 against quarterbacks, number 1 against running backs, number 1 against tight ends, top 12 against receivers. I gotta tell you, man, you got to sit the entire Raiders offense for tomorrow, man. It's not going to be a good game for any of them. And on the flip side, Baltimore's defense, not not as good as that, but they're still pretty solid. They're number 6 against receivers. They're top 12 against running backs. But I got to tell you, I can't see sitting anyone on the Steelers side. I think it's going to be a good game. I think they're going to do very well, and I think the Steelers, like I said, are going to get the win. I do want to say also that Eric Ebron looks like a great start. He's getting really good volume. He's got a nice matchup, and he's getting red zone looks. He's gotten 3 TDs in the past 4 weeks. So I really like Ebron if you're looking for a tight end for this weekend.
All right, cool.
Now, moving on to Sunday, we've got the 6-4 Dolphins at the 0-10 Jets, the mirror image of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Tank for Trevor tour continues, but the Jets have shown a little signs of life the past few weeks where they played competitive games. Do you think they can pull the upset against a warm weather team, in the confines of Meadowlands?
No.
No. Says nope, it's not going to happen.
I don't believe they can. Yeah.
I got to say, if you're looking for a streamer this week,
ain't happening.
I do like Tua as a streamer. Great matchup. I know he got benched last week. That game against Denver, that's a tougher defense than what the Jets offer. I think he'll be a good choice for fantasy this week. A great streaming option if you're in need of one. And as far as the rest of the Miami team goes, I say they're all good. They're all good to go. They're all starts. And on the flip side, I don't want to start anybody on the Jets. I don't like anybody. I don't like the matchup for Jamison Crowder. Just sit them all. If you have any on your team, you're probably not making the playoffs anyway. So any Jets.
That's all right. That's all right. That's the facts.
All right. Next up, we got the Cardinals, the 6-4 Cardinals at the Patriots, the 4-6 Patriots. Man, how does that Schadenfreude feel this season with those guys?
Yeah, you know what, man? Yeah, they were due. They were due.
I mean, losing to Houston last week, I was not expecting that at all. But as far as for this week goes, man, Pats are top 10 against quarterbacks. So you need to be cautious with Kyler Murray, although I don't see how anybody could sit him. But as far as another streaming option for a start, man, Cam Newton, Arizona has given up the 7th most points to quarterbacks. So I think Cam Newton's a good matchup this week. I really can't see any sits on either team, really. This should be a good fantasy game. I think the good, productive fantasy plays across the board.
I think so, too. I'm with you on that one. I think it's going to be a good one for everybody.
Yeah. Now, moving on, we've got the Panthers, 4-7 Panthers at the 4-6 Vikings. These are two teams that seem to be dark horse postseason candidates, but they got to start winning some games if they want to make it happen. Panthers, I got to tell you, man, something I got to say, I'm very impressed with how the Panthers defense has developed this season. And I got to say, for next fantasy season, I think the Panthers D is going to be one of my primary targets to get late in the draft, because I always like to take a defense like in the final 2 rounds. I think that's going to be the kind of defense that's going to be available, and I think they're going to be very good. They're going to offer really nice upside for next season.
I really like that kid who came out of the XFL and has been backing up Teddy Bridgewater. I think wasn't expecting a damn thing out of him, and he's been pretty exciting to watch. Congratulations, man! I think he's got a career's backup at least.
That is true. And I got to say, this week I do like the Panthers receivers. The Vikings are top 4 for that position, scoring points. So Panthers receivers are all good to go. Really like Curtis Samuel. I got to say, I picked Curtis Samuel up in one of my leagues. I'm very excited to have him on my team. I think he's been really, really excellent, especially since CMC is going to be out. So I think he's a good choice. On the flip side, though, I got to say, man, I think Justin Jefferson is a sit. Panthers are top 7 against wide receivers, and Adam Thielen is probably out. I don't know. I mean, I think he's just on the COVID list, right? COVID IR?
Yes. I believe it's close contact. So he may, I don't know if he's going to play or not.
He might get cleared. I mean, if they're both playing, I think you're okay to play them. But if Thielen is out, they're just going to focus on Jefferson. They're going to shut him down. So I would not go there. Yeah. And I think also that the Minnesota is not going to have to throw the ball out. I think it's going to be a monster Dalvin Cook game. I think he's going to run all over the place on that game. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of production there for Kirk Cousins. So let's see here. Now here's one. This is very surprising, man. Browns 7-3. They're 7-3 right now at the 1-9 Jaguars. Browns probably making the postseason this year for the first time since
I think so.
The 80s. I mean,
didn't they made the playoffs in '94, didn't they? When they beat when Belichick was their coach, that was the last time they had a 7-3 record. Yeah, they were in the playoffs in '94, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go. So only 25 years since we saw it happen.
Almost as long as the Cowboys. The Cowboys are only 2 years behind that as far as like winning the title. So think about that, Cowboys fans.
Yeah, and I got to say, the Browns have had miserable weather the past 3 games, and they managed to win those 3 games, but with not a lot of fantasy production. A lot of people are kind of putting them on their bench. But I got to say, this looks like it's going to be a great weather game, and I think Baker Mayfield is a start. Jacksonville D is top 3 for quarterbacks. Jarvis Landry is a start. I think he's going to get his first touchdown. I can't believe Jarvis Landry hasn't gotten a touchdown this season. That is crazy. But he's got to start getting some.
Yep.
And I think this is the week it's going to happen because I think they're going to be able to pass the ball because it's not going to be a torrential, a nor'easter over and over Cleveland.
Right.
But one player I don't like on the Browns is Austin Hooper because he's gotten real inconsistent in his volume. It is a good matchup, but I just don't trust the volume that he's been getting. So I would stay away from Hooper. And on the flip side, I think James Robinson is a sit because Cleveland is top 6 against the run. So James Robinson has been great this year, but I don't think it's going to be a good game for him.
Nah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. So let's move on here. So Titans. Okay, so we got the 7-3 Titans against the 7-3 Colts. The Colts are looking like the most complete team in the league right now on all 3 phases of the game. And the Titans, obviously have been struggling. They have not been doing great the past few weeks. Who do you think gets the win here?
I think the Colts take it. I think the Colts are definitely legitimate AFC right now. Outside of Pittsburgh and Kansas City, I think they're probably the 3rd best team in the conference right now.
Yeah,
really
I agree. There are no good matchups for the Titans this week. The Colts defense, I've been talking about how well they rate on all phases, and it just looks like a bad game for the Titans. So I would sit all Titans if you can, except for maybe Derrick Henry. But even last time Derrick Henry faced him, he only got like 10 fantasy points. It was not a big game for him.
Yeah, he didn't do anything last time. I remember that, yeah.
But as far as another streaming option for quarterback, man, Phil Rivers looks like a dark horse streaming option because it's an excellent matchup. But apparently he's got some leg injury he's dealing with, so you got to watch his injury status. I would not start him if he's like a game time decision. But if he gets cleared, if he gets cleared off before Sunday's game, I'd be okay with starting him, even though I'm not a real big fan of Phil Rivers this season. But
sure,
he's doing a good job as a game manager, so that's what I was expecting out of him anyway.
He's done all right.
Yeah, and I do like Michael Pittman and Zach Pascal, the Indianapolis receivers, top 5 matchup for those guys. So I think they're going to be productive. I think it's going to be a good game for them. So I really like that. And then as far as the Indy backfield, though, I just stay away. Don't mess with whoever you start is not going to be the guy that's going to have the good game. I can't make heads or tails out of that backfield.
Yeah, exactly. No.
So let's move on here. So we got the Giants, the 3-7 Giants at the Bengals, 2-7-1. Again, I think as far as the Giants are concerned, this looks like a good fantasy game for them, man. Evan Ingram is a start, top 4 matchup. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton are a start, top 10 matchup. So I think the Giants are going to be very productive. The only guy I really like on the Bengals is Giovanni Bernard right now. It is a good matchup, but Joe Burrow being out, who did I see today they're going to start at quarterback? It's not the one that they thought it was going to be. It's another guy, Finley.
Yes, Ryan Finley is the starter now.
Yeah.
That's going to be the rest of the way.
I got to say, man, I think the Giants defense is a streaming start this week. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity turnovers.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's all about the matchups, right?
You bet. You bet. You bet.
All right. So how about the 3-7 Chargers at the 7-3 Bills? I think the Bills are going to win this. But I got to say, I love Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be one of my top targets for quarterbacks next season for fantasy football.
Yeah.
He's gonna be one of those guys you can get like the 10th or 11th quarterback off the board. Man, he's been really, really great for fantasy. I really like what he does, and I'm just shocked that the Chargers only have 3 wins.
Yeah, but you know, I picked up Justin Herbert week 3 when Stafford had something going. Maybe it was the first time he went on the COVID list. He was sitting there. I said, I'll give it a shot. I've kept him as my starter ever since.
Yeah. I've got Herbert in as a starter in one of my leagues too. So there you go.
Yeah.
And he is a start this week. So
Yeah,
I think it's a good game for him. I also really like Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry has been really just all over the map this season, man. But it's a great matchup. I think he's going to be very productive, so that's good. The only sits I really see is the Buffalo backfield. Again, hard to trust, hard to know who's going to get the volume. I think if I had to put my money on it, I'd put my money on Zach Moss, but I'm really not keen on starting either Moss or Singletary this week.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And we've got the Raiders at the Falcons, 6-4 Raiders at the 3-7 Falcons. Raiders are doing pretty good this year. I'm pretty impressed, even though they lost to Kansas City.
Yeah.
They did beat them a few weeks ago. It's a pretty exciting team to watch. Derek Carr's been doing really good this year. I think he's a great streaming option. Atlanta is number 1 for opposing quarterbacks. So that's a good stat to have. I'd feel very comfortable starting Derek Carr.
Man, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Kansas City Chiefs, the last team I want to see come playoff time is the Raiders because they present some matchup problems for both those teams. That would be good.
Yeah. I agree. As far as the Falcons go, I do not like Matt Ryan this week. I mean, Matt Ryan's been just such a colossal disappointment this year. But the fact that Julio is probably not going to play really makes it's going to be another super disappointing game from Ryan. Because I thought, man, preseason, I thought Ryan was going to be a top 3 guy this year. But it just has not panned out
so
that
much.
way. But there are some good starts. Yeah, there are some good starts on the Falcons. I like Todd Gurley. I think he's going to bounce back very strongly. Last week was a really bad matchup. I said it was really, really bad. And lo and behold, he got 3.5 points, right?
Yeah.
I think he's much better situation. I think he's going to do much better this week. And I got to say, I also really like Russell Gage, especially if Julio sits. And even if Julio plays, he's going to be limited. So I think Russell Gage is going to be a good option this week. If you're really in need of a flex play, I think he's a good option.
Interesting. All right.
Now let's see. We got the Sunday afternoon games. Man, that's just the morning games. Look at how many games we got going on Sunday morning. Okay, Sunday afternoon games. There's just a few, but there are some big ones. We got the Niners, 4-6 Niners at the Rams, 7-3. Love the Rams this year. They're doing really good, man. And
great.
Rams defense is super legit. Number 2 against quarterbacks. Number 3 against running backs. Number 2 against wide receivers. You can't start anybody on the Niners this week. Not that you're
nah.
But
the Rams are playing too damn good right now. They look great.
Yeah, and they're saying Mostert is potentially going to be returning from IR this week. I wouldn't start him.
So he goes right back on it. That's what'll happen. I'm serious, man. That guy ruined my year.
Now on the flip side, Niners are top 10 against receivers, but I got to say Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, they're doing great. I can't sit them. You got to play them. They're doing really good.
You know what killed me, man? I was up by 29 points going into Monday night's game in my big money league. All he had left was Robert Woods, and Robert Woods scored 30.
Yeah.
I sat there
like
watching
14
the game going,
catches
God,
or something crazy
throw
like
it
that.
to Kupp more, throw it to Kupp more. You're killing me here. Yeah, so that
there was this game last year that I had Patrick Mahomes and the guy I was playing had Tyreek Hill. And Patrick Mahomes threw like 3 touchdown passes to Tyreek Hill. And I'm like, stop throwing it to Tyreek Hill.
I know,
You're
man. I know.
me.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that was burning me. That whole Monday night game was really entertaining game, but the fact that Robert Woods was crushing it like that ruined it for me.
Yeah. Now, I got to say, as far as the Rams go, I hate the Rams backfield right now. It is a total three-way split. Can't trust any of those guys for fantasy. So sit all the Rams in the backfield. And I also don't like Tyler Higbee. Niners are top 2 against tight ends. So don't mess with that. Get him on your bench. Everett too. You don't want to bother with either of those guys.
Yeah.
We've got the 8-2 Saints going to the Broncos, the 4-6 Broncos. Saints have been looking really good. I got to say, they have really been dominating the past few weeks.
Yeah.
That defense is looking great. As far as the Broncos are concerned, I would sit Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. Saints are number 2 against running backs. But other than that, I think you got starts across the board here. I think it's going to be a good game. And I actually in one of my tournament leagues, we're going into the playoffs now. I got a team that made the playoffs, and I got the quarterback. I got the Saints quarterback, so I'm starting him.
All right.
Hopefully he has a great game like he did last week.
Yeah. All right. Sure, man. He'll get you some on the ground at least.
Yeah, exactly. Safe floor, right? It's a safe floor play.
Uh-huh.
We've got the 9-1 Chiefs at the 7-4 Buccaneers. Mahomes versus Brady one more time. Now, I was trying to think here. Has Mahomes beaten Brady yet? I think.
Yeah, they did last year, didn't they?
Did he?
Because
I thought. I didn't think they faced each other in the playoffs. Did they?
I thought they did. No, wait. Kansas City got bounced by. Oh God, I can't even remember now. I think Kansas City did end up beating them last year.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think Brady definitely has the edge in this matchup. Like he's won at least 3 of their games, and so and maybe Mahomes has one of them. But this should be a great game. I'm really excited for this game. This is going to be a great fantasy game. There's so many huge players on the field, just massive.
It's going to be a lot of points. Lots of points.
Yeah, and now the one thing to note, though, is that Kansas City Chiefs defense, which I would not start this weekend. Don't start them. But they are 4th against wide receivers and 8th against the quarterback. But, again, Brady and Evans and Godwin and Brown, you can't sit any of those guys. You can't. I mean, there's too much talent there. So it should be – I'm thinking it's going to be a high-scoring game. That's what I'm looking forward to. So we'll see.
All right, great. That works out great.
Sunday night football, we got the 5-5 Bears at the 7-3 Packers. This looks like another good fantasy game, at least on the Packers side. But for the Bears, you can start David Montgomery, you can start Allen Robinson, but that's it. There's no one else you want to start on that on the Bears. But for the Packers, Robert Tonyan, great matchup, top 8 matchup for him. And, of course, you got Rodgers, Adams, and Jones just dominating. So they're all good. But my streaming option, if you're looking for a defense, man, Green Bay. The Bears offense is a mess. They're going to be starting like a their third string quarterback, probably most likely. And even if it is Trubisky or Foles, those guys are like fantasy gold from opposing defenses. So
Truth.
I picked up the Green Bay defense in a couple leagues for this week. I think they're going to be great. And
Nice.
finally, we've got Monday Night Football, the 7-3 Seahawks at the 3-6-1 Eagles. Russell Wilson, he does this every year, man, right? He comes out at the beginning of the year. He is unbeatable. He is so dominant, and he's in the conversation for MVP. And then midseason hits, and he just goes away.
Yeah. I've noticed he starts on 2 of my teams.
Oh man, and he's got a tough matchup this week. Philly is top 7 against quarterbacks. I don't think I can sit Russell Wilson, but I don't think it's going to be a good game for him. I think he's going to have another struggling game. Philly is also top 7 against the run, so you got potentially Chris Carson coming back. But I think he's a risky start. I think it's a poor matchup. So on the flip side, I've got Dallas Goedert as a sit. Seattle's top 5 against that position. And also there's a chance that Zach Ertz might make it back this week, maybe, possibly, but probably not. And then if you're a gambling man, Carson Wentz, he's like really hard to trust right now. He's really messing up a lot. He's not playing very well. But Seattle defense, second most points to that position for the season. So, dark horse, what do you think?
No, I actually think Russell Wilson's going to have a big game against Philadelphia. I have a feeling about that. I've watched the this year, and Philadelphia is not great against quarterbacks who kind of create their own plays, and that's what Russell Wilson does.
Yeah,
I think the Seahawks are good. I don't think the Eagles have one more win this year in them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're
finishing like 3-12-1.
I mean, you realize we're talking the NFC East. Nobody has more than 3 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy. We're 11 weeks in, and all 4 of those guys are at 3 wins. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Maybe these guys need to be booted down to the minor leagues, send them down to the SEC, and then we'll take the top 4 teams from the SEC and put them in the NFL.
Yeah, at this point, why not, man? Why not? Yep.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for Turkey weekend, and so I've got. I want to wish everybody good luck in week 12, and hope you get into better position for get your wins. You need your wins now more than ever because we're closing in on the playoffs, and that's the only way you're going to make it. So get it in there. And Swami, good luck to you. But I gotta say, man, I am favored to win our game this weekend. So I'm looking forward to notching another win and getting myself up to 4 wins in the 94 Rock League.
You go, boy. You go, man.
I know. I'm the spoiler. I'm the spoiler.
Do it.
All right.
Tear it up, man.
All right. So everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you next week.